And now I'd like to introduce Clay Ross, who is our new Northern California wing leader and is a command pilot. And he is going to talk to you about flying missions, especially for you new folks there. Hope you can learn something and get ready to fly your own mission soon.
Thank you, Sherry. And welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here. And for those of you new, welcome to Angel Flight. It's great to have you aboard. So I'm going to go through several steps here. The first is preparing for your first mission and then walk you through the mission flow and then go up with some common questions and concerns people have. And we'll have time for Q&A at the end. And then I want to share a few personal experiences and talk about some of the things that you can do beyond being a command pilot. So how do you prepare for your first mission? Next slide, please. So the most important thing you need to remember is safety. Safety is first. Everything in the culture of Angel Flight centers around safety. These missions we take are important. They're important to the passengers, but the passengers know that we've got their safety in mind first. And if you have any hesitation about a flight, even if it's something like you're too tired, didn't sleep well last night, I mean, that has to take precedence. The I'm safe acronym needs to be followed. Canceling the mission is the right decision. It's never the wrong decision if you have any hesitation at all. You will probably have a lot of questions. You may have some questions already. You have many resources available, and I strongly encourage you to use them. Some wings have mentors. All wings have experienced command pilots. So find out who those are. You have a wing leader. Contact the wing leader, and he will either answer your questions or direct you to somebody else who can help. We've got volunteer coordinators for every wing. I've listed the volunteer coordinators and their states down there, David Nathan and Ashton Thorne. If you don't know who they are, and their contact information is on the website. And of course, your mission coordinators, although they're busy coordinating missions throughout the day, so they're probably not the first people you want to bother, but they are certainly available to help. And I relied heavily on mission coordinators for my first couple missions. And the thing to know here is that your questions, no question is silly. They're all very important, will be taken seriously. And in many cases, your questions will actually help bring new perspective to the people you're asking the question to. I often will get calls from people in my wing and will realize what a great question. I wish I'd thought of that. So go in boldly, ask your questions, and learn as much as you can from people. And I strongly recommend you pick a mission that resembles your typical flight. If you have only done your flying in areas with uncontrolled airports, then make your first mission like that. If you're going to go someplace that is largely different than what you normally fly, then consider taking a mission assistant with you, or who's an experienced command pilot, or consider going as a mission assistant first. And start mentally preparing right now. Okay, next slide. So do a dress rehearsal. It's one thing to walk through it in your mind, but actually do a dress rehearsal. You're going to be carrying people who in some cases are mobility limited. Maybe they came in on a wheelchair and have to step into the plane, or a walker or a cane. Practice all that. Do you need a small step ladder to get into the plane or to get to the first step to get in the plane? If you need one, buy it, and practice with it. Have yourself practice, have a friend practice. Are they going to be sitting in the front seat? Do you want them in the rear seat? How do you get in the front and the rear? Practice all that. I know you've all flown with people, family members and friends, but think of what it would be like to get somebody who is really tall or overweight or really short or really young or really old. Work through all these things and practice them. Passenger comfort. Think of the ways that a passenger can be comfortable. Have airsick bags available. I encourage you not to tell them there are airsick bags available because sometimes just the power of suggestion will make them feel nauseous. But have them readily available either at your close to your hand or close to them. Get good, comfortable headsets. Strongly recommend getting ANR, the noise reducing headsets, and confirm that the headsets are working in all stations, that the intercom is working. If there's batteries for the headsets, make sure they're freshly charged or fresh, brand new batteries. And get cushions for your shorter passengers. Being able to see out the window is going to make the flight a lot more enjoyable, especially for the young ones. And then rehearse your passenger briefing. Rehearse it out loud like you're talking to somebody and consider a short briefing card. I know a lot of our pilots in NorCal have briefing cards, just like on the airplane, that they hand out to the passengers. And sometimes you can have fun facts on them that give them a little reading material. And I strongly encourage you to ride along with another pilot as a as a mission assistant, or going as a command pilot and taking them as an MA. Okay. So planning our first mission. So we probably all have ForeFlight or something similar to it. So we're going to pick our route. Next slide, please. Pick your primary route and compute the estimated time en route. And then are you going to be on a multiple leg mission? Are there other pilots to contact? If so, contact them, find out if they have any constraints. Maybe there's a certain airport you wanted to meet at a short runway airport, but they're coming in on a Vision jet. So you need to go to a longer runway airport, things like that. Identify possible meeting places for your passenger. Your itinerary from Angel Flight will have a list of places that people typically meet, but maybe your passenger wants to meet someplace different. Add lots of buffer time to your schedules. I cannot stress this one enough. Second to safety, I think this is the most important thing. Will you need to refuel where you're picking up the passenger? Budget time for that. ATC delays, budget time for that. Add lots of buffer time for your passengers. Many of them move slowly. Rehearsing the timing with yourself or a family member is not good enough. I have passengers that need to use the restroom for a number of minutes before they leave and after they get to the airport. You need to budget all that in there. It's far better to be an hour early than 5 minutes late. I have a story on that I'll share later. And I have a QR code there on the right if you want to take a picture of that. That's just a schedule calculator I use for myself. You can just scan that in. Just got some examples of the things I put in there, and it's a shared Google Sheet. So if you want to use it, just make a copy for yourself and put your own customization in. I use that for all missions I do when it's going to be a new scenario. And then identify your proposed pickup time. Okay, when you first contact the passenger, I recommend that you contact them within a day of accepting the mission, because in many cases they're going to be they may be anxious. Maybe it's getting close to the mission date already and they want to know somebody's got them covered. First question might be, have you flown with Angel Flight before? If so, how many times? Ask about their experiences, start a little dialogue. If they haven't, follow up with, have you flown in a small plane before? You know the drill here. Explain to them the type of plane that you fly, the number of seats. You may want to tell them the speed if they seem interested in that. And then ask them if there's other people helping with the logistics. If the person doesn't have English as a primary language, maybe they have an interpreter or somebody who helps. If they're elderly or hard of hearing, maybe they've got somebody that helps. So find out who that person is and ask them if you can be coordinating with that person instead of them, or if they would prefer that you coordinate with both. Flight logistics, pick a meeting time and place. In many cases, the place on the airport may not be the best for them. Maybe they're coming from Bakersfield and it says BFL, but they're actually at one of the satellite airports. Or if they're at FAT, maybe they're closer to Chandler or Visalia. Explain that the weather could impact flight times and possibly cancel the flight. And make sure, particularly in times of the year when weather will be a factor, that you repeat this for them. They should already know it, but make sure they know so that it doesn't come as a surprise when you make the safety call to cancel a mission. Discuss the importance of bag sizes and limits. Some planes are very limited on baggage space, not so much the weight. So it's important to know the volume of what they're carrying. Will they have an oxygen tank and do they have any mobility constraints? Will they be having a walker that they need to fold up and put in the back of the plane? And then explain how the ground transportation will work on that leg. If you know there's a Earth Angel, explain that. If it's going to be Uber, say you're going to get ride sharing. Okay. Verify the weights with them. Your itinerary should have all the weights. Make sure you run through the weights with them and make sure those are correct. And then ask if it seems appropriate, ask what their height is. I had one passenger who was listed as 175 pounds, not a problem, right? Well, it turns out he was an ex-Warriors basketball player and he was 6'8". My plane could handle that. And actually did state on the itinerary that he was tall, so I did ask. But you need to know, because if somebody is 250 pounds, depending on whether they're 5 feet tall or 7 feet tall, that will drastically change whether you need a big seatbelt or a lot of headroom. Set your expectations. Tell them about the estimated flight duration. Explain that the cockpit will be noisy, but you will be providing them with headsets. And the cabin is small. Of course, these are comments that's going to be really for people who have not flown much before. Do remind them that your plane doesn't have a bathroom and recommend limiting caffeine and liquid before longer flights. And in closing, tell them that you'll follow up with them the day before and probably, I say probably to you, but to them, make it definitive whether you'll be following up the morning of. And encourage them to contact you anytime and give them all of your contact info. Okay, so now you've already talked to them. Follow up with an email with key information. You probably gave them a bunch over the phone, but get them something in writing, either text or email. Again, repeat the flight details, all the vitals, and then beginning coordinating with your other pilots. If it's a handoff mission, you're the first leg, second leg, third leg, figure out the drop points and the times. Maybe even create a group chat if there's three of you, and then coordinate with your ground transport if it's Earth Angel. And if it's Uber, work with your Angel Flight coordinator. They're going to give you a code, a way that you can coordinate with Uber and get the ride when it comes time. Okay, now you're approaching the mission. Next slide. Monitor the weather. Remember, safety first. You're going to make a call. Don't wait to the last minute to make that call if it looks like it's trending bad. There's a lot of pilots who can fly in pretty much almost any weather we have on the West Coast, any time of year. And if you cancel early, maybe we can get one of those planes that can do that, or we can get them on a commercial flight before the seats fill up. Monitor your aircraft availability. If it's your plane, is it coming out of a 100-hour or an annual inspection? Make sure you have time in there to do some test flights before you're carrying a passenger. If it's a rental, do you need to consider having a standby plane available in case that one gets canceled? And if you do cancel, contact your Angel Flight coordinator immediately. And if it's the day of the flight, then you're going to contact Angel Flight and your passenger, of course. Okay. Day before the mission, you're going to repeat that weather briefing, confirm the aircraft one more time, and contact your passenger. A lot of times the passengers are surprised. They see the weather's good, they know it's going to be good, but they're always reassured that I'm checking in with them, making sure that they know what time I plan to pick them up and where I plan to pick them up. And if it looks like the weather is going to be an issue, tell them at that point. Or if you've already canceled it, tell them at that point, and you look forward to flying them sometime in the future. Okay, day of the mission. Oh, this particular picture here, this is my third Angel Flight mission. This young man here was 11 at the time. He was actually a guest. He was actually a guest at our recent Endeavor Awards. He's now 16. There he was 11, and he at that point had flown about 50 missions. He had a heart transplant when he was 9 years old. So quite a remarkable story, success story. He's now 7 years after his transplant. Okay, next slide. Okay, before leaving home, you're going to get your pre-flight briefing and one last contact to the passenger. If no change to the ETA, great. Confirm your meeting time, location. Tell them what you'll be doing for ground just to give them a confirmation or a reassurance on that. And if weather impacts the ETA or cancels the trip, inform the passenger and Angel Flight. Send a message to the Earth Angel to confirm your ETA. And I strongly recommend contacting the FBO before you depart, telling them you'll be coming in and asking you get priority parking, something close to the terminal that's easy for you and particularly for your passenger. And then print and bring a mission itinerary and bring Angel Flight identification. I always wear my badge. Consider wearing your swag, shirt, anything to identify. It makes it much easier for the passengers to identify you. And it's great advertising. We're an organization that when people know what we do, they love us, but the vast majority of people out there don't know what Angel Flight does. So we need to get the word out, and you're our ambassadors. Okay, arrive early. Plan time to fuel up if needed, and take that into account when you're creating your planned arrival time. So plan to be all ready to go 30 minutes before you're meeting your passenger, and that includes planning time to have already been fueled up and sumped and rechecked before that 30-minute mark. If you flew in, consider tipping the ramp staff. I found that ramp staff loves Angel Flight. They almost all know about us. and they love what we do and they thank us for our mission. They're extra helpful. And we should always be tipping Rand staff because they're helping us. And they're shocked often when we, are doing the volunteer work and tip them. But, it's a small gesture for us, but it means a lot to them. So tip them. And when you get into the FBO, introduce yourself, and if necessary, show them that itinerary that I just told you to print out. You may need it to confirm that you're there. I actually had a mission where I was supposed to go to Jackson and it dropped down below IFR minimums when I was about 10 minutes from the airport. So I had to divert all the way back to Stockton and I showed up at Atlantic and they said, okay, that's $40 for our ramp fee. And I said, well, I'm an Angel flight. And they said, well, do you have an itinerary? And I pulled it out and they waived all the fees. So having that in your pocket, even if you think you don't need it, could save you a bunch of money or a bunch of paperwork. Ask if they have security procedures. A lot of the bigger airports have security doors. If you're wearing your badge and you're wearing that hat I just showed you, they probably don't need to check you every time you go through. It'll make it a lot easier for you to get in and out. But find out what the procedures are. Ask if they have a shuttle to get to where the plane is parked if it's not right outside the door. And if it is far, ask if they can transport the plane, transport the passenger. Okay, you're greeting your passenger. It's important that from the moment they see you, first impressions, right? The moment they see you, they're looking for somebody who's calm and confident, and they want that throughout the whole day, but particularly that first moment. So if you arrived after they got there and you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off, it's not going to set the day off straight. You get there 30 minutes, you're all dialed in, you've used the restroom, and you relax. You show up with your happy smile, they're going to be very happy and they're going to have a nice, relaxing flight. Confirm their names and confirm their baggage and make sure it doesn't weigh more than expected. I carry one of these all the time. It's a little hand scale, about $12 from Amazon. It's got a little loop, little hook goes up, and you can weigh all the bags. It's very accurate, and it's a great way to know not only how much the total baggage weighs, but how much each piece weighs. So if you need to position between a center, a rear, and a front baggage compartment, you can distribute that according to what you planned in your weight and balance. Suggest they use the restroom before departure, even if they just came from home. And you may need to set the example. I have many times said, do you need to use the restroom? And they say no. I say, well, I'm going to go use it. And they say, oh, well, I'll use it too then. So set an example. You'll be very grateful when you're not on final approach with a passenger bouncing around waiting to use the restroom. And then read the room. Maybe they didn't tell you about mobility issues, but you notice they're walking in a way where they do need some support or something. Are they anxious? Are they wearing a mask? Are they immunocompromised? Should you put your mask on? Just figure out what their situation is and adapt your behavior and situation to match theirs. Okay, you're going to walk them to the plane or drive them to the plane. I recommend taking a selfie with them or taking a picture of them first if they're willing. You probably all know that Angel Flight likes to get these pictures and post them. And this is a great time to sort of move from a procedural, we're doing A, B, C, D, E, and take a little pause and reset. And we're going to stand at the airplane for a few minutes. Do they want to walk around and look at the airplane to get some, get some familiarity with it? You're there in plenty of time. Hopefully they're there in plenty of time. So use that time to just get them to relax and more comfortable with the experience they're about ready to have. Use that stool if needed. If they may be able to walk just fine, but maybe lifting that leg 18 inches to get to a step and then putting their weight on that is tough. I carry a little 9-inch foldable step stool is like a $10 from Amazon. I keep that in the back of my plane all the time, and it's really, really helpful. So get one of those and assist them into the plane. Protect your plane. Make sure that they're not stepping on parts of the wing that they shouldn't. Make sure they're not stepping on the flap. Help them and explain to them gently, not critically, what they're about to do, and say, oh, this is an important part here. I can't have you step there. Please step over here. That kind of thing. You may rehearse all this, get a buddy, somebody who's not flown with you before. Get a buddy and rehearse them through this process before. If you're doing your test run with yourself or a family member, you're not going to be able to work out all the kinks, but do that before you get a passenger in the plane for Angel Flight. Okay, your passenger briefing, safety and comfort, all the typical stuff. How does the seatbelt work? Door operation varies from plane to plane, and some are more difficult than others. Um, fire extinguisher, walk through the emergency exit procedure, and then explain to them the sterile cockpit. Explain to them that during taxi, takeoff, and landing, you need to be focused on talking to ATC. And if you have a intercom with an isolate button, be practiced in reaching up on it a few times. I've had passengers that just, they forgot the time and I've asked them to be quiet and they still keep talking. Just isolate them. It may seem rude. They'll understand why you're doing it and you won't miss what ATC is saying. And if you have a hand signal, something as simple as raising your hand, explain to them that when you do that, that means they need to stop talking. Because I like my passengers to feel like they can talk most of the time, but you're in the middle of a conversation and all of a sudden ATC comes up, you're going to hear your call sign. They're not. Just tell them, oh, sorry. Comfort. Are they comfortably positioned? Is the temperature good? Can they see out? Do they need a seat cushion? Are they short? Whether it's a short adult or a kid, being able to see out easily is going to make the flight a lot more fun for them. And then identify the locations of the air vents. Um, the intercom, you want to test the intercom out with them, particularly making sure that that mic is put right in front of their mouth. Even the people who fly a lot forget to do that. Make sure you can hear them and they can hear you. And remind them to tell you anything during flight if they need anything, if it's running too hot, too cold, their headset stopped working, which probably means the battery went bad. Make sure that they know that they're always communicating with you. Okay, next slide. Okay, during the flight, we want you to fly. Obviously, if you're flying IFR, you're in a flight plan. If you're not flying IFR, then do VFR flight following all the time. Or you can do flight plan too, but flight following is really the best. Continually be cognizant of your passengers' comfort, checking in with them. If it's turbulent, maybe they'll notice it and you won't. Should you change altitude? Should you change your route a little bit? Be sensitive to what your passengers um, are feeling and what they need. They're going to be more sensitive than you are. And if necessary, disable the passengers' ATC comms, either if they're talking too much or if they just want to take a nap or something, or tell them they can take their headset off and put it back on when they need to. If workload permits, encourage chatting with the passengers. Point out landmarks. Tell them how long it's going to be till you get there. Some passengers will share your life stories, and that is precious. You'll never get that through anything other than Angel Flight. Uh, Other passengers will want peace and quiet the whole time. And before you start to descend, tell the passengers and tell them what you're going to be going through if they've not done this before. Tell them the plane is going to get quiet right before landing. That's fine. Tell them there's going to be a buzzer that comes on. You don't need to tell them what a stall warning horn is, but just tell them it's telling you you're getting close to the ground. It's just a little alert signal, whatever sounds good for them. And just make them familiar with the process, comfortable with the process beforehand. Okay, you've done this mission. That's fantastic. What next? First thing is debrief yourself. You probably do this after every mission anyway, but add in the aspects of what went well on this Angel flight. What could I have done better? Then you're going to compute your expenses and submit your Angel flight report that has your hours, your expenses, and your comments. You're going to put comments in there that could be safety related. If there's anything that's really important that should be highlighted right away, contact your Angel Flight coordinator, explain the situation, seek guidance on the next steps. I had a passenger who showed up with her caregiver. He helped her get into the plane. She was kind of stumbling around. She seemed like she was having some kind of problems. I would have sworn that she was on drugs. Turns out I found out later she was. She was taking her daytime medicine. She accidentally took her nighttime medicine. She called it in the daytime, and it was actually double dose. So she basically took more sleeping pills in the day than she should have taken at night because she took the wrong number of pills and the wrong type at the right time. And she passed out in the back of my plane. And I looked back and I thought she might have actually died, but there was nothing I could do about it. I mean, I could see that she was still breathing. And I asked if she was awake. She didn't really move much. And then just on final approach, she woke up and I had to help her to where she was going. So I wanted to find out whether this was kosher and what I should have done differently. And talked to the safety officer, and that story he said, well, everything sounded like it was good. I certainly was within my um, I certainly was within my right to at the beginning have said, I don't want to take you on this mission. I need to take you when you're a little less impaired. And frankly, she didn't seem so impaired that it's going to be a factor. So I was quite surprised when she did pass out in the back of the plane. If I did it again, I probably would say, let's do this a different day. But she was a very nice woman. She on before her flight home that afternoon, she actually called me up to apologize and explain to me more what had happened. And I flew her about 3 months later, and just a very nice woman that unfortunately got caught on the wrong side of her medicine prescriptions when she was confused in the morning. So things like that do happen. They happen rarely, but do report them and talk to somebody if they happen. Other than that, congratulations, you're done. You've done your first flight. Now it's time to book that next mission and get back up there again. So what else? So when can you use your call sign? Only when carrying Angel Flight passengers not during other legs, and you can only call it if you can set your transponder to broadcast on your call sign. You may get priority handling, but don't expect it. I've had two missions where I think they gave me a slightly shorter route through Oakland than I normally get, but I can't prove it. But it's pretty cool. Use an Angel Flight call sign, and it's great advertising. Do you have the right type of aircraft for an Angel Flight mission? If you have an experimental aircraft or one that's not airworthy, then no. Under every other answer to that question, the answer is yes. I don't care whether you have a Piper Cub or a Global Express, all types will work. Many of our missions are flown on 172s, and for the shorter missions, that's actually a better way to go for the patients because they get a better view than many of the faster low wing planes. Okay, next slide. Have I ever had a passenger show up with excess baggage? Yes. There's a reason I bought this. I had a couple that I had flown total of 4 times by the end, but after the first two missions, I noticed that their baggage always felt a little bit heavier than I thought they had told me it was. Fortunately, I was in a plane where I had about 350 pounds extra to spare, so I knew it wasn't over that. I distributed it so it was within my weight and balance envelope. On the third mission, they actually showed up with more than they said they had. Showed up with more than they ever had before. And when I weighed it, they were 135 pounds over. Now, in a Bonanza, that's not a big deal with only two very small, skinny passengers. But if you're in a 172, that would be game over. So make sure you confirm it with the scale. How often do missions have mission assistance? It varies. It depends on the weather, the command pilot, and the workload. I've only had a couple mission assistants. In both cases, it was just for fun, and in both cases, it really turned out to be beneficial for the patient. So I'm going to start flying with mission assistants more often. They just a number of ways they help out the passengers that you can't predict beforehand. Should you contact your passenger on mission day? Absolutely, yes. I texted a passenger. I mentioned the time that I was 5 minutes late. I texted a passenger saying, we've got a headwind coming back, so I'll get there early and we need to leave early because we're going to have a headwind coming the other direction. And I need you to be at the airport 15 minutes, please. She did not get the text message. In addition, she was 20 minutes later than planned. So we were 35 minutes behind what I wanted her to be. And she missed her appointments by 5 minutes and Stanford sent her home. So she missed her appointment. She missed the 15-minute grace period. So we were 20 minutes after the appointment and she got sent home without actually flying. Don't let that happen to you. Okay, next slide. Common concern. I am hesitant to book a mission because I am busy at work and might have a last minute meeting that would cause me to cancel a mission. Many pilots have told me this, so they never book a mission for fear that they might cancel. Do not worry. After this, after the third pilot at an airport day told me this, three different pilots said the same thing. I went home and I started doing screen captures of every text message that came in that week from Angel Flight. And here's the four that came in. And in every case, the mission was filled. In one case, it was filled 2 hours and 43 minutes after Angel Flight said we need a replacement. In the other cases, it was filled in 51 minutes, 3 minutes, and in the same minute, the mission came out. Not sure how that happened, but there's certain pilots that stand by looking for these things. We've got a guy at Palo Alto, Sanjay, that seems to fill everything that comes in last minute. And so rest assured, if you book a mission at the last minute, you cancel it, there's dozens of other people, literally dozens, waiting behind you to fill that mission. So if you have a hesitation because your schedule might fill up, please book a mission, take that mission, plan it, and if you cancel, that's okay. We'll catch you on the next one. Okay, next one. I'm going to skip the inspirational stories because I see we're going a little past time. This is one of my passengers here. It's actually the woman. Those are two kids, and she's had a condition that's life-threatening since her younger one, the boy there, was born. It started about 6 months after he was born. But anyway, for people
Hi.
who are curious, I can share that.
You're welcome to share some of this. We're good on time right now.
Oh, okay. Okay. So anyway, so I had a flight from Palo Alto up to Arcata, and you can see the little plane there. Plane's already heading back home. So I flew her up from Palo Alto to Arcata. On the way up, I asked her condition. Well, I didn't. I asked her how she was doing, and she shared her condition. I don't actually reach out and ask the condition, but she offered it. She has something called abdominal adhesions, and this is a condition where there are these growths. It's not cancer, but it's sort of cancer-like, and it's on around all the organs in your abdomen. And it basically constricts and it puts pressure on the organs and causes them to stop operating. If you put medication on it, it really does nothing. It actually angers them, makes them multiply. And if you do surgery, you don't get it all. They come back more. So there's really no treatment for it. You can mediate it, give medication to cause it to decrease. And I asked her, I said, is it painful? And she said she's in pain all the time. And so I asked her, how could she be so upbeat? And she just said three simple words. She said, I choose happy. And we get these gifts from our passengers because, I'm a firm believer of the expression, I felt self-pity because I had no shoes until met a man who had no feet. And we get that from our passengers. Their way of approaching life and getting through life is so informative and encouraging for the rest of us. So on this mission, I told her that I had a return mission. I felt I couldn't share the name of the person who was coming the other direction. But she said, could I say anything about her? I said, oh, she's in her early 50s and she has cancer. And she immediately listed the name of my next passenger. Well, it turns out this person that I was returning was stage 4 cancer. She had been the nutritionist for this passenger here. And nutrition is one of the ways you treat these abdominal adhesions, or at least keep them from getting worse. So they knew each other. So I flew this other passenger back. And on the way back, the passenger said, she was going from Arcata to Nevada, and she said, I've flown with Angel Flight a bunch of times, and I love your service, but don't get me wrong. She said, I fly this route is it gets me to my appointment in about an hour and a half, and it's a 5 hour drive, and I could do that drive. I do appreciate the transport, but what I really love about Angel Flight is I get to come up here and look over the area that I used to spend my life. She was 52 years old, dying from cancer, and she looked fit. I mean, had her hair, looked physically strong, mood fine. You would not know she was sick. And she said she had spent her whole life kayaking, mountain biking, rafting, hiking that whole area. And she said, I come up here and for a half hour, I get to look at my old playground and just think of my life. And so that was just, you know, we think we're carrying people from A to B, but we're really giving them a lot of things in their life that bring joy. And that joy comes back to us. So I just wanted to share that. So anyway, thank you for this. Um, okay, so ways you can increase your impact. You're a command pilot. You're a command pilot, and that is a huge place. As you can tell, it's very touching to me to be a command pilot, and I've got more stories like that. I've got a fantastic story that's, by the way, that passenger that said that to me, she passed away 2 months after my flight, and I just thought, what joy we bring to these people that they're in their dying months, and we're bringing something that gives them something to look forward to. And there's a command pilot named Tom Ricks that is based at San Carlos, and he drives a ton of our ground missions. And he's got a story too that will break your heart. So you are a command pilot, but please, if you're in a position, particularly by a hub like Palo Alto, San Carlos, Seattle area, Santa Monica, if you're someplace where flights are coming in, you're bringing a flight in, and your car is at the airport where the flights are coming in, consider driving them because you will spend more time being able to talk in the car than you probably can actually when you're in the plane. So you actually get to know your patients better in the car than you often can in the plane. And what you're doing as an Earth Angel is you're not just driving them the 10 minutes from the airport, but you're giving them, as David referred to earlier, you're giving them that five-star experience from home to the doctor. You know, we all have great Uber rides every now and then, but most Uber rides are not great. And even when they're great, they're not as great as an Earth Angel. So you're taking that five-star flight experience and you're extending it into a five-star driving experience. So I really, really strongly encourage everybody to do that. Um, the thing on the right there, I encourage people, if you can, to scan that QR code too. It'll take you to that page that is right there. It's a little Google slide I created. Um, Angel Flight has three ways you can volunteer primarily. There's the Earth Angel, the pilot, and the mission assistant. And right now they're working on creating a way to get more access to the information for mission assistant. It's not currently up on the website right yet. So if you scan that, you'll get to my page and I've got links that'll take you into the pages you need to get to. And I keep this as a file on my phone all the time. So if I'm at the airport or someplace and somebody said, tell me about Angel Flight, I show them that QR code, they scan that, and that'll take them to everything they need for Angel Flight. So for me, it's a great, almost like ID badge way for them to get to the stuff they need for Angel Flight. So I encourage you to look at that and see if you want to do that. It's my little sort of cheat sheet visual guide thing. And remember, you're always an evangelist. Wear that hat, wear that shirt, always be recruiting fellow pilots at the flight club, at meetings, wherever you can. If you live near a hub, what I call a hub like Palo Alto, San Carlos, Seattle, Santa Monica, drive, recruit other drivers. If you live near what I call a source airport, someplace it's a remote area, bringing the people in, get the word out to prospective passengers, get the word out to referring healthcare providers and have the pitch prepared. This slide deck starts off with the short one sentence about what Angel Flight is. Get the pitch you're comfortable with. That's a great one to start with. And be able to say in one or two sentences what Angel Flight does, your short elevator pitch. Okay, next slide, please. Closing thoughts. This is a lot of fun. As you can tell, I feel it's extremely rewarding. But do take time on every mission to be present, to recognize the subtle joys of missions, not just what you're doing for the passengers, but get that joy of flight back. If you've been flying, I've been flying for 42 years, and sometimes it starts to become routine, right? And Angel Flight is a way for all of us to remember how much fun it is to fly when things start to wane. Enjoy your passengers, let them show you their love for life. And all passengers are extremely grateful. You will find a few that don't express it. Their life sucks right now. You are not their top priority. So understand that if they don't tell you thank you or they don't seem extra grateful, know that deep in their hearts they are. Um, Go beyond just the mission. Get to know your fellow pilots, your fellow drivers. It is quite possible you can fly for Angel Flight and never talk to a person associated with the organization. Everything is on the computer, right? You don't need to talk to your coordinators. You don't need to talk to me or your wing leaders. You can do everything you need to just electronically. That's a shame. I mean, it's great we can do things automated, but go beyond that. Reach out to other pilots, get to do things. If your wing has barbecues or fly-ins or Zoom meetings or sessions, attend those. Make this a social thing for this life for you. Make this a bigger part of your life than just flying the missions. And use it as a way to expand the network, recruit others, and share the love and joy of Angel Flight beyond that. Take a friend along as a mission assistant, and then add an excursion. Or maybe that friend is your wife or your partner, your spouse. Sorry. Take them on an excursion. So you might fly up to an airport, drop somebody off, and then hop over another airport, spend the weekend, then come back. You know, the part of the flight that would have been to and from, that's 501(c)(3 tax deductible. So you just got a vacation for a little bit less, and your family member or friend got to see the joy of this too. And the other thing is, our ops team is amazing. Every pilot out there will tell you they're amazing. They make our job so easy. We, planning a flight is hard enough for a pilot to do, but all the stuff of coordinating and finding the passengers, if we had to do that, we wouldn't ever fly any missions because there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes to deliver this person to point A for us to pick them up and take it to point B. They're making it so this is basically only marginally more difficult than flying an afternoon fun flight. And thank you to our ops team for all you do. You make this so much easier, make this very achievable for all of us. And I'll close with safety first. As one of my Angel Flight passengers who was a pilot himself said, when we got to the airport I flew him down from Reading in the morning, and we got back to Palo Alto Airport, I was going to return him back up, and the wind was 25, gusting 40 miles an hour at Palo Alto. And before I could even say the flight was canceled, he says, "We're not going, are we?" And I said, "No." And he said, Got time to spare? Go by air." So remember that motto. Our passengers do not expect us to get them there, but they do expect us to get them there safely if we take them. So that's my last comment.
Well, thank you, Clay. That was informative. It was beautiful. Michael said there are more, he thinks there are probably more stories, Michael. They are, never ending. Every one of the mission ops team could tell you 10 stories right off the top of their head that are moving. So, uh, I think the point of that is there's not a better way to use your airplane, folks. Get out there or your rented plane to take those skills that you've got that you took so much effort and put so much resources in uh, to help people like the ones that Clay talked about, or about Emma, who I mentioned at the beginning of this day. There couldn't be a better match between aviation and helping others. So, does anybody have any questions for Clay or for me, the mission ops team?
We just had, I'm sure Jess has been tracking the questions, but I see the most recent one came up from Kate. I feel sorry for Kate. She's based in Honolulu. That's horrible. I'll trade places with you. Um, And she asks, let's see, interested in volunteering in the future, would love to connect with any pilots in Hawaii who are currently involved with the organization. So we should put Kate in contact with our fabulous wing leader in Hawaii. I'm sure he would love to.
Yes. David, will you drop Ace's contact information in the chat and or contact Kate directly, please, and connect her to Ace? Okay, we'll do that.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
That was the only one in the chat window. Any verbal questions? Happy to answer anything that people have.
here's another one in the chat.
Oh, here we go.
I'm a private pilot working on my instrument, then we'll do commercial, but I don't have a plane. Is there any way I can help, like co-pilot or safety pilot? So you can go along as a mission assistant sometimes. I don't know where you are, Peter, but Clay just said he plans to take mission assistants more frequently. So where are you? Phoenix.
Phoenix,
Okay.
Arizona. Yeah, yeah.
That's David. Again, David, would you connect with Peter and talk to him about how he can fly as an MA?
I would also like to add another point that I did not mention. So, and I think you should have seen this in the literature, the material that you saw online. But basically, we're not allowed to take instruction or do instruction during an Angel Flight mission when the passenger is aboard. Once the passengers are no longer aboard, that the restriction does not apply. So one thing that people will do is they will fly with a CFI as their mission assistant. And then when the mission's over, they'll get instruction on the other leg. So that's definitely one way. And you're still doing the 501c3 for the cost of your flight part of your expenses at that point. So you're basically reducing your plane time, but of course you're still paying for whatever you've agreed to with the CFI.
Thanks, Clay.
And there's another question here from Michael. Question wife had, what if something, God forbid, happens that ends in tragedy? Okay, so that's yes.
So, a couple things. One, every passenger signs the waiver of liability, but in addition, there is the Volunteer Pilot Protection Act. I believe it was, well, it was 2021, 2018, maybe. Anyway, the FAA finally did approve that after many, many years. Michael, what wing are you in there?
I'd be up in Washington State, so I think under
Washington.
Ashton. Yeah.
Okay. Ashton, would you please send Michael the link? We do have an article that talks about the Pilot Volunteer Pilot Protection Act and how it can protect you against a lawsuit. Now, nothing is a guarantee, obviously, but there
I
is
told her I
something out
figured there
there.
was something that they probably have to sign, but she had the, worst case scenario, like something happens to you and the passenger both gone. What their family comes after us type of thing.
Uh,
So I was like,
right.
something there, but I'll find out.
It's a valid concern, and we do have that waiver signed electronically, so that's done before the passenger ever gets in an airplane. And then, more importantly, is the Volunteer Pilot Protection Act, which disallows somebody from suing you if you're doing a charity act for an organization like Angel Flight West.
Awesome. Thank you.
It's kind of like the Good Samaritan Act on a
It
Right.
is.
extended to, yeah.
Right.
And then we have a question about Utah. David, can you take that one? He wants to be put in contact with I think we should be contacted with our Utah wing leader. David, do you see that? The question from
Yeah.
Carlos?
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, Carlos, we'll get you in touch with our Utah wing leader.
And David or Ashton or somebody, if one of you could work quick enough to get the Volunteer Act that's in
Ashton
the
got
knowledge base in this chat, we can get it in the chat.
Ashton put it in.
Okay, thank you, Ashton.
Yes, so Paul asked a question. He owns a plane who would be interested in an MA position until he reaches 250 hours PIC. Fantastic. I track everybody who gets into the NorCal wing, and I think we've got about 30 people join the wing since the first of the year. And just in the past 2 weeks, we had two people in exactly the same situation in the 100 to 250 hour PIC time. So they signed up as an interest in command pilot, but they're going to be an MA first. So
Really?
definitely do that.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else have a question?
We got one more.
Oh, there we go.
Is it required for us to have our own aviation insurance?
It is. You have to have $500,000 and $100,000 per seat. And if you fly with a flying club or rent from an FBO somewhere where they have that policy, you can get that policy from them. Usually they have a cover sheet that they'll give you a copy of so you can show us that you have that. And David, yes, we do. We post this. We post the town hall itself goes on YouTube at some point. And Clay, he's wondering if you might share your slides.
Yes, I can do that. I also just put my personal email, my direct email in there. If people have questions, feel free to contact me. It's pretty simple. It's AFW, so Angel Flight West Clay at gmail.com. If you email me with any questions you have, I'll be happy to share any of the resources also. But yeah, do you have Jess or Sherry, do you post the slide deck for people to see afterwards?
We post it as a video.
Okay.
Yeah. So we can send that out too.
Okay. And from the video, I'll test it out. We should be able to see the QR codes. I blew them up enough that I can at least get them off my slide to work with my phone so they can get the
Yeah.
QR codes from that.
And we can add the links in the description of the video, so we'll make sure to do
Oh,
that.
perfect.
Yep.
What about aircraft certified in Europe? That's a good question.
I'm going to have to ask somebody on that one.
Yeah, I'm not sure how long in the same boat. Plan to sign. Okay. I'm not sure if you need to get it converted to an N number at some point or not. Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that one. We can get that answer for you.
David George, good to hear from you. David actually rents one of my Cessnas from time to time. He's in the same boat. Plans to sign up as an MA until he has sufficient PIC hours. Great. And all of you pilots who just joined, get your friends to join. And if they're not at the 250 yet, get them to be MAs. And I would encourage them to be Earth Angels too. Like I said, Earth Angels are a big part of our success story, and we fill more missions by air than we do by ground, so we need more Earth Angels. Can you talk about
Uh,
options to help with experimental aircraft?
uh, that's a tough one. So we cannot do any missions that have humans in them. So dogs, blood, which we don't really have right now. We do have some dogs in some of the regions you might see um, in the experimental aircraft. And I do know, that that can be a controversial decision. But we did, the safety committee, the board safety committee did discuss it again recently and decided that we would continue on with our same policy. So if you have an experimental and you see one of those dog missions, you can do those. And if we get some more blood missions, which I hope we do, you can also do those. And then certainly you could fly for flights of joy at the holiday time. It'd be a great time to be able to participate and use your plane for something fun. Anybody else?
Thank you again for everybody for being here today and listening and for all your great questions. And I think a common theme I saw out of some of those two were questions that you can definitely ask your wing leader. So if you don't know who your wing leader is, find out from either Ashton or David who that is and contact them. And I saw a few comments and questions regarding getting in contact with fellow pilots. So like I said before, the more we can create a social network that is beyond just flying the passengers. I think most of the pilots know many more passengers than they knew fellow Angel Flight volunteers, and that would be great to see more social aspect.